welcome to Discovery and welcome to another episode of Discovery. We have an action-packed week. I hope you're all feeling well. So let's get on with the singles of this week. So the first single is Ensiferum, Rum Women Victory. Ensiferum released a new single, and you know what, it is a good song, but it's one of the weakest Ensiferum songs I've heard. It's just the overall guitar melody at times provides a happy vibe that gets on your nerves sometimes. It's got just such a happy vibe, which I don't want to hear from Ensiferum. At times it sounds like an Ailstorm song in my opinion. The vocals are okay, but it's definitely quite a weak single by Ensiferum. And I just feel that this album is going to be a pretty solid release, but at the moment I didn't enjoy the new single. So then Within Temptation released a new song, Entertain You. Now this song is a very fun, happy, vibey song. It's a very different song by Within Temptation, but stays true of their sound in my opinion. I love how heavy the introduction it is that leads onto such a very catchy chorus. The chorus is quite melodic, her vocals are quite dynamic and range. I just love how different this song is overall. There's some electronic elements providing that atmosphere and element of surprise, but overall it's a pretty tight and cohesive song, wrapping all under 4 minutes. It's a really enjoyable song, so I'm really looking forward to maybe their new album they're gonna drop this year. Then we move on to another Now Myriad. This band is a metalcore band. They do metalcore differently in my opinion. I really did enjoy this song for what it is. Really enjoyed his vocals and his nice cleans throughout that chorus. The breakdown was very interesting, wrapping all under 4 minutes 20. It's a very intense but in-your-face song. I do love how the production feels quite industrial. The guitars are quite muddy, but times transitions into that cleaner production. But overall, it's a pretty stellar song by Another Now. And then finally, to end off the singles, we go to a band called Iku Turso Ultionis. It's the Finnish black metal band. And this is a very enjoyable song. I love how dark sounding it is. It feels like second wave of black metal. His vocals sound so evil and demonic. At times it feels like Satan himself is yelling at you. Not to mention, you got an awesome guitar riff that sounds very similar like something out of Maiden. It's fucking awesome, this song. It really is. I absolutely love how evil and dark this song sounds, how atmospheric at times, the guitar tones, the drumming is awesome, the blast beats incorporating the nice drum fills throughout that chorus. It's a great black metal song and I'm really looking forward to Pekana, the new album coming out. Okay, so let's now go on to the new release albums. Now this album was released last week on the 1st of May. And the band is called Cryptic and the album Visitations from Enceladus. Very hard to pronounce, but man, this is a progressive death metal album. Moonbelt Immolator is a song that lasts 25 minutes. A 25-minute death metal song? What the fuck? This is an awesome album. I love how prog it is. I love the different time signatures. At times it's brutal, technical death metal. It's overall just one tight and cohesive package. At times it sounds like bands like Ulcerate, and at times it sounds like bands like Opeth. It's also got that Opeth feel, especially with acoustic tones. But overall, it's a very enjoyable album. Visitations from Enceladus by Cryptic. I'm going to give this band called Mekong Delta and the album Tales of a Future Past. This is sort of a thrash progressive metal album, very interesting, but I feel that this lacks direction, this album. I love the guitar tones throughout the song, but I feel that this album is very jarring. There are some really awesome songs like When All Hope Is Gone. some really short songs as well. But with Mekong Delta, Tales of Future Past, I felt that this album dragged way too long, and that's why it's getting a 5 out of 10. So what is another interesting sort of album? We got Secrets of the Moon and their album Black House. I don't know how I could explain what this album would be. It's like gothic metal, in my opinion. The vocals are really cool. I love the vocals on this album, and the guitars and how doomy at times this album is. Like Here is a fantastic Secrets of the Moon song, and on this album, but then you got Mute God, which is a lot heavier. But overall, this album is a pretty cohesive album. But with Secrets of the Moon, Black House, probably going to give this a 6.5 out of 10. So what is another interesting album that I found was Hatchet's 4 Hands and the album Cabaret of Decay. It's very hard to explain because at times they are black and death metal, at times they are technical death metal. I just really love the different changes throughout this album. At times there are some really nice passages. Cabaret of Decay also lacks in its direction as well. Like sometimes you don't know where this album is heading, but with Hatchet's 4 Hands, Cabaret of Decay, I will give this a solid 6.5 out of 10. So then we lead on to Sangre, Más Fiera, Que La Muerte. Awesome album this is. Again, it's like a death metal album. At times, the technicality throughout this album, the blast beats, the drumming, the production on this album is pretty top notch in my opinion. Flamenco moments as well throughout this album. Overall, it's a pretty cool album. My recommendation for you is to check out Sangre, Más Fiera, Que La Muerte, because this album gets an 8 out of 10. Very enjoyable. What is such a crazy sort of album and chaotic album, but at times beautiful album, we get the Hirsch Effekt and their album Kollaps. Now this is a German metal band. Can I just say it's a crazy, chaotic album because there are some really nice angelic vocals and there are some really harsh, aggressive deathcore vocals, long death metal, black metal vocals. This album has it all. It's like you put everything in a blender and you mix it up and this is what you get, the Hirsch Effekt Kollaps. It's such a really cool and enjoyable album. At first when I listened to it, I said, oh god, I don't know whether I enjoyed this album, but it's proggy at times, and at times it's chaotic. At times it also sounds like a Now Myriad. It's such a really strange album, but it's just can't help stop listening to it. But the Kollaps of Hirsch Effekt, we'll give this an 8.5 out of 10. Alright, so then we got Naglfar, Cerecloth. Okay, so this is a good album, but again, this album's quite long. It feels long. There are some melodic moments. Like I do love the guitar moments, the tremolo pickings throughout, but at times this album does lack. It does lack. The vocals are pretty intense as well. I can really appreciate the vocals, but I just feel there are some much more better black metal albums out there, especially this month. And for Naglfar Cerecloth, I feel that there's so much I can talk about this album. Maybe I will provide a review in the near future. They repeat the same monotonous passages throughout some of these songs, and this is at times very chaotic and the production is really good. But with Naglfar Cerecloth, I will probably give this a 7.5 out of 10. Probably the best metal release of this week, apart from Winterfell. It's Forgotten Tomb and the album Nihilistic Enstrangement. Really awesome black and death metal album. I absolutely love Active Shooter, love the Iris House Part 1 and Part 2. Such interesting melodies as well, very impactful, quite energetic, love his vocals. It's a very tight and cohesive album, really is. Again, there is so much to talk about Forgotten Tomb. I might provide an album review later this week as well with Winterfell, but with Forgotten Tomb, Nihilistic Enstrangement, man, a 8.5 out of 10. Adored this album, I really did. Then we go to Hyems, Anotomie des Scheiterns. Alright, so this is a German black metal band, and I tell you what, this album has such catchy riffs, such enjoyable melodies as well. It's definitely in my top 10 albums of May, and I thought this was a very solid album. Again, I love his vocals, love how blackish his vocals are. I just really enjoy transitions and the passages. For Hyems, Anotomie des Scheiterns, I will give this a solid 9 out of 10. A very enjoyable album. Finally move on to Czort, Apostol. This is a black metal album through and through. Such really enjoyable songs. Definitely not as good as Hyems, but I can really appreciate the melodies and the different structures. It's got some really awesome moments and nice guitar melodies and some really nice acoustic moments as well. But with Czort Apostol, I will give this a 8.5 out of 10. Now we go to the albums I have explored, and the first album is The Crimson Idol and the band W.A.S.P. This album impacted me a lot, it really did, and I will provide a full album review. And what can I say about this album is that this album just blows me away. The concept of this album is so damn good. I will explain to you on my album review this week on W.A.S.P. Crimson Idol, because it was just such a joy to listen to it. We move on to Mourning Beloveth, A Disease for the Ages. I think this was Mourning Beloveth's first album. It's definitely not the greatest Mourning Beloveth album. I just feel that it lacks creativity, especially throughout this album. But Mourning Beloveth still holds true to what they sound like. And I do love sort of distorted and evil guitars throughout this album. But there's a lot of talking. I do enjoy his vocals. But on the other hand, it's one of the weakest albums. So with Mourning Beloveth, Disease for the Ages, probably a 6.5 out of 10. Then we go to Darkthrone, Old Star. Very enjoyable album. Love how proggy it is. It's got such a really different sound to the other album like The Blazing Northern Sky. But Darkthrone are such a really interesting band. I just love how different they sound, especially on this album. Yeah, Darkthrone, Old Stars is a really enjoyable album. It really is. And at times it doesn't sound like black metal, but you got really cool songs like A Muffle Your Inner Choir, and then you got songs like Old Star. But Outman is so damn different. With Darkthrone, Old Star, an 8.5 out of 10. And we move on to Darkthrone, A Blaze in a Northern Sky. Really enjoyed this album. I think this was a very solid album. Awesome black metal album. Catharian Life Code, what a fantastic song that is. That's like over 10 minutes 40. And then we got the Pagan Winter to end off the album. Beautiful album overall. A 9 out of 10. It was a fantastic album. Then we move on to Kalmah, They Will Return. The first Kalmah album I checked out, and I thought this was a very solid album. Really reminds me of bands like Winter Sun, how symphonic it feels, but yet atmospheric. I do love songs like Hollow Heart, My Nation's a great song, The Blind Leader, really in-your-face songs. I love his vocals on this album as well. Kalmah is a band I definitely need to check out. an 8.5 out of 10. And finally, to end off Discovery is Mare Cognitum Phobos Monolith. Alright, so this album is such a really cool album. I love how atmospheric and black metal it is. Space of 50 minutes, but there are only 4 songs off this album, but it really packs a punch. His vocals are intense. The guitar melodies are awesome as well. A very enjoyable album. Oh, I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. And that is a wrap for Discovery. I hope you did enjoy Discovery for this week. Join me next week as we delve deeper into more new album releases. I hope you did enjoy it. Comment below what albums you're going to check out. Keep the discussion going in the comment section below. And I will see you in the next one.